let's talk about the Major League Baseball All Star Game. And specifically, we're going to get into our National League ballot today. We'll talk more about the American League ballot in just a second, but I wanted to start today with the National League ballot because I think it's the one that impacts most of our viewers. It's the one that we ask the question, can the Phillies have a starter in the National League All Star Game when it comes to position players? Now, obviously, we don't get the ability to vote for pitchers. And if I had the ability to vote for a pitcher, I would vote for Zach Wheeler to not only make the All Star team, but to potentially start in the All Star game for the National League. I understand if you want to pick Paul Skeens, he's been unbelievably good, could start 12 straight All Star games if he wanted to. I understand if you want to pick Andrew Abbott because of the ERA being so low over the course of his last 12 starts. He's been excellent as well. I expect him to make the team. But unfortunately, we can't vote for National League or American League starting pitchers or pitchers in general when it comes to the All-Star ballot. So this is my National League All-Star ballot, and it raised the question, is there any possibility that a Phillies starting position player could make the National League All-Star team, and not only make the National League All-Star team, but be a National League starter? And as you can see by the vote that I put together, my answer to that question is no. I think there are two players that might be able to make it work. And the two players are Kyle Schwarber as the DH, who has been excellent this year, hitting just under 250 now, but home run totals are up, RBI totals are there. Strikeout rates, with the exception of the month of June, have been excellent throughout most of the season. His walk rates still remain good. His on-base percentage is excellent. And he's hitting better against left-handed pitching. We've documented this before. The unfortunate part for Kyle Schwarber is that Shohei Ohtani exists. And Shohei Ohtani, once again, has been absolutely on a tear as a hitter for the Los Angeles Dodgers. So far this year, he's hitting 290 with 23 home runs. This is actually surprising how low this next number is. He has 23 home runs and only 39 RBI. I would have to take a deeper dive to see how he's hitting with runners in scoring position, or if he's simply just not able to hit with runners in scoring position. Now, I know he's leading off a lot of games or hitting second a lot of games, so that may be a factor into it. But so far this year, he has 78 hits and 269 at-bats. Again, hitting 290. On-base percentage of over 380, slugging over 620, and an OPS that is over 1 for the season. Last year, Shohei Ohtani led the National League in home runs with 54. So far this year, through the first 67 games, he's doing it again. He's got 23 home runs so far this year. He's also leading the National League in slugging, in OPS plus, in total bases, and he's right up there with the league leaders in hits, and he's also leading the league in runs scored as well. It's hard to deny that Shohei Ohtani is the National League DH for probably the foreseeable future. So then the second player that we could talk about is Trea Turner. And is Trea Turner offensively able to do enough this year so far, right about a 300 average, and I think swinging a much better bat, chasing less, whiffing less than he did a year prior? Is he able to do enough offensively to offset the poor defensive play? And I think the answer to that question might be yes, but the guy that I am turning to as my National League vote, and I hate to do this, is Francisco Lindor. Francisco Lindor is the catalyst of the New York Mets. Now, Pete Alonso is the power bat, and they brought Juan Soto to be their big-time name in. But Francisco Lindor, year in and year out, feels to be the catalyst of the New York Mets. So far this year, just 3 less hits than Shohei Ohtani does. He has 75 so far. 26 extra base hits, including 14 home runs. He's driven in 38. Has walked just 53 times through his first 67 games this year. He's hitting just under 280, an on-base percentage over 350, a slug near 500, and his OPS is 829. I have been a objective Francisco Lindor kind of truther, if you will, because I know around Philly, people don't like to give credit where credit is due, and credit is due to Francisco Lindor. He is getting my vote as the National League shortstop. All right, so those are the two positions that I think a Philly could have a chance to be named the starter. Because again, remember, it is a popularity contest. And I will say this, when it comes to popularity, there may not be a more popular player in the world than Shohei Ohtani. Let's run quickly through the rest of the lineup. Andrew, if you could flash that lineup one more time for me. There's a couple of no-brainers in here. There's a couple of that I feel really strongly about. Let's start with the no-brainers. The no-brainer at first base is Freddie Freeman, because stop me if you've heard this before. Freddie Freeman's leading the National League in doubles. He's got 21 doubles this year already. In his career, he has 529 doubles. He's led the National League in doubles 4 times. He's on pace to do it a 5th. He's had no less than 23 in any season. And by the way, that season was the 60-game season. He's had no less than 25 in a full season. He's gone over 30 every other year. He's been over 43 times. And back in 2023, he had 59. But he continues to do it again, leading the National League in batting average. He's hitting 347. On base percentage, well over 400. His OPS is just shy of 1 so far this year. So not even a thought about Freddie Freeman being the National League first baseman. Let's go to second base, because this was an interesting one. I really, really thought about Brendan Donovan from the St. Louis Cardinals, but Ketel Marte is killing it, despite the fact that he missed almost a month's worth of games with an injury. He's only played 42 games this year, but he already has 12 home runs. He's driven in 22, hitting nearly 300, an OPS over 1 himself, slugging .580. He also has 18 extra base hits of his 44 hits so far this year. Sometimes you're right about players and sometimes you're wrong about players, and I think you should tout when you're right and you should have accountability when you're wrong. I have been on the Ketel Marte is going to be a superstar train for a very long time. And last year, I think he busted out into superstardom, and he's picked up right where he's left off. Ketel Marte is my vote as the shortstop, or as the second baseman for the National League. At third, I'm going to go with Manny Machado. Manny Machado having himself another really fine season so far this year, hitting 320, 10 home runs, 39 RBI. 28 extra base hits already so far this year. The 320, if it stays the way that it is, would be a career high for a season by a lot. And the career high that he reached in 2020, again, was only played in 60 games. So his career high in terms of 162 sample size is 298. He's currently hitting 320. He's also striking out a lot less, just 45 strikeouts so far through the first 67 games. And walking a decent bit compared to what he normally does. On base percentage is well over 380. Again, for a full year, that would be a career high. And his OPS is just shy of 900. He's broken the 900 mark a couple of times in his career. But through the first 67 games, I'm going to go with Manny Machado at shortstop, or at third base. We talked about shortstop. Let's move to the outfield. This is the one that I felt really strongly about. And PCA has busted onto the scene in a big way. He's swinging and missing a ton less. He's hitting for power. He's hitting for average. He's a menace on the base paths. And defensively, he has been really, really good. I'm going to vote for Pete Crow Armstrong. The one that maybe is the sleeper pick of this group, and there's a reason that I ended up going with him, is Elliot Ramos from the San Francisco Giants. He himself is having a really, really good year for the Giants in his second full season, batting .295, an OBP over 360, slugging at over 480. He already has 11 home runs through the first 67 games. He's on pace to get close to his season total last year. He's on pace to get close to his season total in RBI last year. He's becoming a more and more complete hitter as his career unfolds. Just 25 years old, was a first-time All-Star last year. I expect Elliot Ramos to get back into the All-Star game again, or at least I would vote for Elliot Ramos to get back into the All-Star game for the second time. Now, the guy that's going to make the All-Star team for the first time, and if you remember, again, maybe a little pat on the back, I did a video back in March that said who is going to be 5 first-time All-Stars, and the one guy that I was really, really high on was James Wood from the Washington Nationals. And James Wood is having just an unbelievable season for Washington so far. The power is there in droves. He already has 16 home runs through the first 68 games. His average has climbed over the last month. His OPS is well over 900. He's slugging well over 530. Strikes out a ton, kind of the MO with James Wood. Has already struck out 81 times in the first 68 games, but he's got 32 extra base hits. He's driven in 45. He is the power bat, and I think Washington, for as middling as they're playing right now, Washington offensively is closer than I think many would tend to believe. Between him and CJ Abrams, Dylan Cruz is starting to come around after a really slow start. I think James Wood is going to be a perennial all-star, and I believe this year is the first time that he's going to make that team. And then at catcher, I contemplated Hunter Goodman from the Colorado Rockies for a very long time. Home runs are there, RBI is there, but his OPS is substantially lower than Will Smith's OPS so far, even though Will Smith only has, I believe, 6 home runs so far this year. To me, at this point of his career, even at 30 years old, Will Smith is the best catcher in baseball. He leads the National League in on-base percentage at 427. He's hitting 324. His OPS is well over 900 at 929. Yes, again, as I said, he only has 6 home runs so far this year, only 17 extra base hit or 19 extra base hits, but he has 58 hits in his first 178 at bats. To me, at least in the National League, Will Smith is the best catcher. Maybe Cal Raleigh might have claim to that this season so far. He's been really, really good in the American League, of course. But I do expect Will Smith to not only make his 3rd consecutive All-Star game, but start in the All-Star team for the National League. All right, so one final time for you to check in on the National League ballot that I put together. Freddie Freeman at first base, Ketel Marte at second, Manny Machado at third, Francisco Lindor at short, Pete Crow Armstrong, Elliot Ramos, and James Wood as the outfield, Will Smith behind the plate, and Shohei Ohtani is the DH. So to answer the question, could a starter, a starting 9 player for the Phillies, get into the starting lineup for the National League All-Star team? I think the answer is no, not this year.